Hello friends, my name is Steve and this is Steve Talks Books. Thanks for coming by and watching my weekly update. It's where I talk about what I've been reading, what I'm going to read, what I planned on reading but it didn't quite get to, and other fun stuff that's going on the channel. If you're new here, I typically read grimdark and horror, but I'm open to any genre. Just typically what I've been reading lots of grimdark lately. It's just the way it's been working out. I also like to talk to people, so you notice lots of conversations and interviews and discussion videos on the channel. I like to talk and discuss things and get to know people and interact. That's kind of my thing. And just a note for all the long form content on the channel, I do have a podcast that I host all the audio files on. So if you can't sit in front of YouTube or you prefer to listen instead of watch on a podcast while you're at work or while you're working out or whatever, that is all available. So down below is the links, and I'm on all the major podcasting platforms. And my chair is starting to drop on me, if you notice that. But I'm on all the major podcasting platforms: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify, Stitcher, a couple other ones I can't remember all of them. But chances are, if you enjoy a podcasting platform, I'm on it. So let's start off with what I've been reading this week. It's been a long week of reading. So I've been reading Deadhouse Gates by Steven Erikson. It's for a Malazan group read that we have a discussion for next Saturday. More on that here in a minute. But I've been getting through this bad boy. And you might say, well, it's not, as far as fantasy goes, it's not too thick. It's like 600 pages long? It's just about 600 pages. That's about typical for fantasy. I mean, when you say fantasy, in my mind, I kind of expect 500 to 600 pages, just kind of where my mind goes for most fantasy. So as far as fantasy goes, it's not too long, but when you look at the pages, and for those of you who aren't aware, these pages are wall to wall, all the way to the bottom. And so it's those pages are packed full of text. It's taken me a little bit longer than I anticipated to get through it. There's lots of things going on, and it's a lot different than Gardens of the Moon, whether it's me, and I've just kind of adapted to the style. But I do think there's a difference between Deadhouse Gates and Gardens of the Moon. I do think Deadhouse Gates is a little bit easier, more accessible, and the writing style is a little different. It's a little more what I'm used to. So while I'm still a little confused with it, I am enjoying it. I have about 100 pages left, so I'm going to finish that this weekend. And so that leads into what I'm reading next week. I'll be reading The Winter Road by Adrian Selby. We are having a deep dive into The Winter Road, and I have the page pulled up here because I always forget, on Thursday, April 21st at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So we're meeting with Adrian Selby and a couple of other friends, and we're going to do a deep dive into The Winter Road. So anyone who is interested in watching that, it will be spoiler filled. So we will be getting into spoilers, deep dive. But so if you're interested or enjoy The Winter Road or want to read along with us and want to interact, it's a great time to do that with Mr. Selby. It's a pleasure talking to him. So really looking forward to that. We've been planning it for a while. So on the channel last week, I did have a couple of interviews post. The first one was my interview with Thomas Howard Riley. He's the author of We Break Immortals. We talked a lot about world building and inspirations on what goes into it and how thorough Thomas is with his writing. I also recorded an interview with Brian Stavely. That'll be posting next week. I'll get to that here in a second. Also this week, my review for The Grey Bastards posted, and my review for the Iconoclasts trilogy posted. So I try to make these as spoiler-free as possible because I always hate to be spoiled on things. So let me know if you're enjoying those or not. I'm kind of trying to adapt to my style. And I've tried before to do more structured reviews, but I think just kind of a free-flowing kind of, it's more my thing. I feel more comfortable doing it. I used to break it down with what I liked, what I didn't like, and a rating. But now I just kind of sit in front of the camera and talk, and that's basically what I do now. Or I'll go with what I posted on my blog. I'll use that kind of as a foundation. Then I'll kind of just do off the cuff. So let me know if that's working for you or if you prefer another format. For me, I feel most comfortable with that format. So let me know what you think. My interview with Arminus R. Finial posted on Friday. So that went up Friday afternoon. We did talk a lot about Grimdark, why Michael R. Fletcher is underrated, and a bunch of other fun topics. So check that out if you're interested. So next week, my interview with Brian Stavely will post. That'll post Monday. My Deadhouse Gates review will post Wednesday, that I have not recorded yet. And I did also record an interview with Nicole Eisner and Beverly Lee. We discussed their collaboration novelette, Crimson is the Night. So we spent about an hour this morning, or Saturday morning, discussing that. That will post on Gabriel Davenport's birthday, which is next Friday. So next Friday morning, that interview will post. I always love talking with Nicole Eisner. She's become a friend, and she's always very supportive, and I really appreciate her support. And I got to finally meet Beverly Lee, so it was really fun to chat with both of them. They get along so well, and it was a really, really fun time. So check that out on Friday morning. Also, next Saturday, so before I see you again for a weekly update, we will have our Deadhouse Gates discussion. So we're having another full discussion for Deadhouse Gates. It will be spoiler filled. I think the same cast of characters is coming back this time around. So check that out if you want to interact with us and talk Deadhouse Gates. That is next Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So, check that out if you want to interact with us and talk all things Deadhouse Gates. I'm not going to say too much about Deadhouse Gates because I know there's a character that most people seem divided about, and I'm not quite done yet, but I'm not sure where that's coming from. So for me, I don't want to say too much. So I'm sure we'll get into it, and not get into it like fight, but discuss it during the discussion stream. That group isn't about fighting or anything. We're all fun people. We're not going to fight over a character in a book. That's just silly. So I do have some exciting news, some very exciting news. I'm sure most of you know Jimmy Nuts. He's the Fantasy Nut Network, and I was invited to appear on Chatting with Nuts next Friday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm a big fan of that series. He's had some huge booktubers and authors on there. So when he asked me, it was actually April 1st, and a part of me was like, is this an April Fool's joke? Because I've only been invited on one other channel, and that is for Angel invited me on her channel, Voices from the Mausoleum, to talk about my top 5 most influential horror movies. So this will be my first invitation for another booktube channel, which I'm still amazed anyone watches. So for someone like Jimmy to invite me on his channel to chat with them, I'm super excited. Once we of course I accepted right away, but I thought, is this an April Fool's joke? So if you are able to swing on by and interact with us on Friday night over on Jimmy's channel, I never thought I'd be invited for something like that. So, it's just one of those things where I knew that it existed. I've seen them, but I never thought I would be the one to receive an invite. It's kind of like getting the golden wrapper with a chocolate bar or something. Like, I'm going to go to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Let's just hope I don't make a fool of myself on that stream, which is entirely possible. So speaking of streams, so check that out next week if you're able to. And speaking of streams, we do have more page chewing episodes are being planned. We do have a couple of them planned on the calendar on our forum. I do have all this stuff on the calendar, so if you're ever curious on what's coming up, I try to do week by week because I think it's a little overwhelming if I tell you what I'm doing for the month. There's so much stuff. So we do have a few more planned. We'd have one day that we have 2 planned in the day, one really early in the morning and one in the evening. So we do have many of them. We have a ton of authors on our list. PL and I have a ton of authors that we're trying to, that we've already asked about appearing. And I also want to invite some content creators too. So as well, I'm really excited about that. There's lots of fun stuff happening with page chewing. Also, I want to mention that my website, I wanted to do something more. The website started as a forum for players of Dark Age of Camelot. This is back in 2004. I won't get into the huge, long history of the forum, but we started off with players of the game. And over the years, we evolved into different things. We did Magic the Gathering for a while. We did some other things. And now that I'm on BookTube and I have all this stuff going on and it's been more book focused, I decided to change the domain to pagechewing.com. So swing by and register for the forum. I am in the middle of changing all the certificates and stuff, so your browser may pop up with this site isn't safe kind of thing. I'm still migrating everything over. Sometimes it takes some time, but it is secure. I'm the only person who has access to any of that stuff. So if you do see that message, then if you're not comfortable, of course, don't do it. But they should hopefully be gone. If you're still receiving an error message or that this site is not safe kind of thing, let me know so I can get it resolved. So that's more fun stuff that's coming up. I didn't have a whole lot this week because I didn't get through a whole lot of books and didn't have a whole lot planned. This coming week, I do have an interview scheduled with Daniel Brahm that is coming. I'm recording that this coming week. And I also recorded an interview with Sean R. Bell, which was a really positive and fun and just uplifting conversation. So I really enjoyed talking to Sean R. Bell. He was our first guest on Page Chewing, and just a really positive, pleasant person to be around. And, all the times when I think about these interviews and I was like, I need to slow down on these because there's like too many of them. And I have such a great experience, and it's like, I love doing these things. It's so much fun. Speaking of interviews, I do have, I believe, 5 more planned into May. And then that's it. And they will be less frequent. I think Page Chewing will be my main content for like interviews and discussions with other authors and content creators. And then I'll have an interview here and there when I can grab someone. But it'll be less common in the coming months. I'm going to finish up what I have scheduled, and then it'll be maybe once or twice a month is what I'm thinking. But if you've been around for a while, you know that I'm not too good at sticking with plans. Sometimes I just want to do something. I just want to try things, and I'm like, well, this sounds like fun. Let's try it. And then I end up trying it, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So one of those things. So there was a discussion this week about critiquing versus reviewing. There was an author that sent out their book to another author / content creator, and there was some. I won't get into too many of the details, but the content creator didn't finish the book. I think that person read like 20% of the book, but still released a review for it. And didn't have all that many. It wasn't a very positive review. So it spurred this discussion over what's critiquing a book and what's reviewing a book. And, if you receive an ARC or you're asked for a review and you accept, what does that mean? What is expected of you to give in return? Because it's a transaction, kind of. I mean, it's a, will you read this and tell me what you think? What's expected of you in return? So for me, I started thinking about this, and I'm not the kind of person who's going to break down prose. I'm not going to break down sentences and writing and that's not me. I mean, I'd love eventually to be able to do that. That's just not what I do. That's not my bag. That's not my world. I'm just a normal guy who likes to read and likes to talk about books. So it did make me think and consider, what is a review? But for me, when I record a review video or write a review, or whether it's on Goodreads, Amazon, or my blog, I come to it from the perspective of just a reader who enjoys reading. I'm not going to break down sentences and uses of language and things like that. So that's just my perspective. I think people who know me, who get to know me, who get to know my content, I think they see my point of view, and some people, prefer critiques, and some people prefer like deep dives into language and writing and things like that. So, we all have different expectations. So I want to ask all of you, when you watch a review, what do you expect? Do you expect the reviewer or do you expect or prefer the reviewer to get into language and to break down prose and to really get deep into that? Or do you want more of like, this is my takeaway from this book, like themes, or just their thoughts when they finish it? I'm going to StokerCon in May, and I'm starting to kind of get ideas for my journey. And when other people have gone to cons or gone to events, and we haven't had events like this in a while because of the pandemic. But before, when people would go to cons and things like that, I would always like to try and live vicariously through them, like for Comic Cons and these big conventions. So I'm going to try to kind of document my journey and try to make it so you feel like you went, or you're like, you kind of share the experience with me. So I plan to do some. I'm going to be driving from Albuquerque to Denver for the con. I'm actually meeting Daniel Barnett there. So I plan to kind of document a lot of my shorter stuff will be like a YouTube short, not my journey there or just saying hi to Daniel or whatever. And then I'll have other longer videos that I'll edit later. But just to kind of live in the moment, I think it might be fun. But let me know if there's anything that you would like to see from StokerCon, from my time in StokerCon, because I want to give all of you what you would like to see from there. What would you be wanting? What would you like to see from that whole experience? I'm looking forward to meeting these authors that, they're like rock stars to me. So it's going to be really weird meeting them in person. I've met some of them online, but so I'm looking forward to meeting them in person. It's going to be great. I'm going to try not to be starstruck, because I'm going to meet Daniel Barnett. It's crazy. Thanks to all of you for watching. Let me know what you've been up to. What are you reading? What are you watching? What are you listening to? I didn't do a whole lot of entertainment this week. I've been really busy with work, and when I get home, I've tried to read. I've tried to do videos, and haven't done a whole lot. I've just been watching a little bit of Seinfeld, and what else? That's about it. So let me know what you're up to this week. What do you have planned? What did you do last week? I like to interact with all of you, hear what you're all up to. And I like to kind of present questions and get some back and forth going. So hopefully that works out pretty good. I like to have that discussion, kind of get that flowing. So again, check out the website, pagechewing.com. Check out the podcast. I'm on Instagram. I'm trying to check it more often. I'm on Twitter at Steve Talks Books. I am on Facebook, although I don't check it very often. And I also do all my personal stuff, like my dogs and what beer I'm trying is on Vero. So check that out. All the links are down below. I went a long time without having any beer. I used to be a beer snob, and I had to give it up because we went, low carb keto thing. But I'm starting to try and enjoy a beer now and then. So I've been having a beer here and there, and it's so good. But I have to be good because it's like one beer. I just look at a beer and it's like, man, I gained like 5 pounds. So let me know how you're doing. Again, all my socials, all the ways to connect with me are down below. I hope to hear from you. I hope you are all doing great. Thank you for coming by and saying hello. I really appreciate it. Without you, I wouldn't be doing this. So thank you so much for your time. Hope you have a great week, and I will talk to you soon.